Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Midday Musing. It's been a while, and we're so excited to be able to come together. Our goal is to inform, inspire, and encourage, and hopefully motivate us. Today, we have a very special person with us, Ian Correa. Currently, we want to discuss leadership through crisis, and especially pandemic in India. And we've asked our person on the ground to be able to give us information. So I'm going to ask my co-host Pam George to be able to introduce Ian to us. And thank you, Ian, for joining us.
Thank you, Rita.
Hello, everyone. I just want to introduce Ian Correa. He is the CEO of Hope Foundation, and he is definitely a dear friend and a trustworthy source who's going to tell us what does it look like in the ground. He's worked extensively in the urban slums, villages, and areas affected by disaster. He's collaborated with leaders from the government and corporate India. Ian is actually on the front lines of the pandemic, and today I look forward to gaining a deeper awareness of the realities of this pandemic. Thank you for joining us, Ian.
Thank you, Pam.
So, Ian, I know that we have questions for you, and we want to thank you for joining us and being willing to share your heart and your thoughts on just this sad situation that's happening in India. I mean, I know that I'm from there, even though currently I don't live there. I have never seen anything like this, and I'm sure you have never seen anything like this. Can you tell us about how COVID has impacted the churches in India as well as the people? And what is Hope doing? How is Hope working at this time, in this time of crisis? Can you throw a little light on that for us, please?
Most people have seen more pain in the last few weeks than they would have seen in an entire lifetime.
Mm.
Sometimes you hear of an unfortunate death, maybe two in your entire life. But here there's been a barrage, day after day after day. And we're going through a whole range of emotions. There's confusion, there's anxiety, there's uncertainty, there's fear. Some people, and I can see where they're coming from, are even questioning God and asking, is there any value in praying?
Right.
I prayed, and still my loved one died. My brother died, or my mom died, or my sister died. So the struggles are very real. And the questions that come to our mind is, why did this lady have to die? She was just a source of encouragement to so many. Mm-hmm. Why did this young man who gave up a professional career to serve full-time in the ministry, why did he die and then leave behind a young widow, just 7 months after his marriage? What about this brother who for as long as we know has been faithful, and he's gone? So we have more questions than answers, and some questions I believe we'll only get answers on the other side, but it is tough. Having said that, what we've also realized is we must cry in private, but we can't keep crying, and we have to focus because there is so much to be done. Since the pandemic started, Hope has helped hospitals and the police and communities across the country with PPEs, with oxygen concentrators, and now we're working with the government of India, IIT Delhi, the Center for Cellular and Molecular Science platforms in Bangalore, to provide medical oxygen concentrators to hospitals so that they would have the long-term relief that is needed in a situation like this.
At a time of just loss and grief, and we're here in our show, we muse about what do leadership, as leaders, what can we learn from these lessons, and what are the biggest lessons learned from this experience? And can you give us some insight?
Well, one of my role models is Mother Teresa. And she, after all the incredible work she did, her perspective was, I am but a pencil in the hand of God.
True.
And it is her example of as she followed Christ that we strive to follow. And not only Mother Teresa, but even Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, He said, innovation comes from empathy.
Mm.
And so we believe, very strongly that for leadership to be successful, empathy has to be a starting point, and it has to be a key ingredient in a man or woman's journey, especially that of a leader.
Mm.
And along with empathy, which is absolutely essential, we feel that it is important to be responsive and responsible at the same time.
Mm.
To put ourselves in other people's shoes and to examine what their needs are and see how we can meet it. Because sometimes they are in a daze and they themselves are not sure what their needs are. So it's at times like that we have to be responsive, but also realize that there are areas where we don't know enough. And that's why we have to be dependent on people who know better than us. And that's why I feel faith and science should make this journey together.
Mm.
That in places where we don't know enough, we need to trust the experts, we need to educate, we need to create the awareness, and we need to have the humility to listen to people who are more experienced in areas where we are weak. So responsiveness and responsibility is important in leadership. But the other thing is to be clear during periods of chaos. There is a lot of chaos, there is confusion, and a leader it's essential for a leader to be able to put problems in a box, close the box, and then move on to the next issue, and not allow the problem to permeate into every area of his or her life. During chaos is important, and we must realize that we are in a war.
Yes.
And because we are in a war, a leader has to be at the forefront.
Mm.
But based on the situation on the ground, he has to sometimes walk alongside his colleagues, sometimes stay in the shadows based on what the need is on the ground. But it has to be absolutely clear that this man or this woman is leading me into battle, and he should not be missing in action. So I would say those are the key ingredients of leadership. And fortunately, we have had an opportunity to learn from people who came to India maybe 3 decades ago, who poured their lives out, those from within India who have started church plantings. And all we are trying to do now is to take the baton that was passed on to us and live a life that, brings glory to God and makes a difference to others.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Ian. I know that there's a saying, I read a quote somewhere which says, in times of crises, leaders need to focus on being calm, have clarity, communicate, and stay consistent. And I think it's in lines with what you're talking about. What advice would you give to someone who's probably not fully aware, or they know and they've heard stories and rumors, and maybe, like you said, there's so much information out there. What are some lessons that so far you have seen that we can learn on just how to beat this thing?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said we need to be calm. That is absolutely critical. But when we are facing so much pressure, it can get challenging to be calm. So we need to have places where we can go to and say, you know what, I just need to talk. I need to tell you how I'm really feeling. And I'm really proud of the Hope entities and the churches globally, because Hope Worldwide, US, the UK, France, Hong Kong, Canada, Australia, Singapore, they've all come together. They've all pulled the churches together to say, what can we do? And the beauty of this is, it's an approach that is both independent and interdependent. And I think one of the lessons going forward is, through our grief, God has given us an opportunity to feel the love, to feel the prayer cover. But as a movement, I feel it is so crucial, as a movement of global like-minded people, it is so important to be there for one another. Yes, there is room for independence, and that is important. But I think those relationships which now can get forged because of the internet and through the various tools that are there, those relationships have to be strengthened and go viral. Where disciples are connecting with disciples and people are connecting with people all across the world, there should be a beehive of activity. And we just need people to listen to us, pray with us, cry with us, and make that journey into the future together. So those are a few thoughts, in response to your question.
Amen.
Thank you, Ian. I think such important and deep lessons through this whole COVID crisis. I appreciate you bringing up the need for leaders to develop empathy, because people who are grieving will not know what their needs are. And as leaders, putting ourselves in their place and be able to be people of action is so important. Because I think about the perspective and the lens we view struggle is so important. And even just being so connected with what God is trying to teach us through this. So would you tell us about that whole perspective and struggle and hardship, and how should we even be thinking about these things?
Well, Pam, I'd like to say that, we ourselves are on a learning curve. We have a distance to cover, but what we've seen as life is fragile.
Yep.
And sometimes we can get so caught up, in the hurry-burry of life that we miss out on that which is important. There are so many, who are thinking of what they could have done if someone was alive at this point, still alive. I remember reading about people who go to Banaras to die. And there was a caretaker who had witnessed 11,000 deaths because, burials.
Wow.
And he said very often when people are on their deathbed, the one thing they say, I wish I had made peace with my brother or sister or mother or father on their deathbed. That is their dying wish. So my submission would be to take a look, to stop, to hit the pause button, to stop, to reflect, on what's truly important, and to also extend the arm of fellowship to one and all. I don't think this is a battle just for the elderly, just for the middle-aged, or just for the young. We need each other. Just like in a beehive, there's a queen bee, there are drones, there are worker bees. Everyone has worth and everyone is valued. And so if we can all come together, one thing I've realized, as I have now spent a lot of time in this phase, in this line of work. I recently became a grandfather. But what I've realized is the only life worth living is a life in which we are pouring ourselves out for others. And at the end of the day, if I can do that, if we can do that, we will find our purpose, we will find our meaning. And we may not be perfect, but if we can be faithful and just keep pouring ourselves out and constantly be thinking, how can I make life different or better for those around me? I think we will find meaning that may have eluded us for many years of our life.
Wow. Thank you, Ian. Yes, it's so true. I think finding meaning, as you said, in our life is just, our life just seems all of a sudden so, we always knew it was fragile, but just now in the past a year and a half, we realized how really fragile all of us can be. I know, just in the Western world, for us, we are so far away, even though we are ourselves in the middle of pandemic, but it has not been as desperate as some of us have faced in India. We watch television, we hear of the news, and even you shared earlier on. How do you think we can provide comfort? I know that we've prayed a lot, and many our elders, every week get together, we have the list with us, we go through each name and pray for the people. What are some things we can do to provide relief and comfort? Because we want to make a difference. We want to take part. Like you said, we all have to come together. What can we do now? What are the needs? And how can we support you through this crisis?
Thank you. I think one of the ways in which you can support us is helping us out financially. And for that, Hope Worldwide is a great platform. I would direct people to hopeww.org as in case they want to make a financial contribution. But having said, and they can get in touch with me anytime, in case they want to take this further. I'm happy for you to share my email ID, my phone number, and connect people and show them ways in which they can meet needs here in India. But having said that, I think what is even more important than the money is the relational connections. We need that more than the money.
Mm.
We need to feel the love, because I think what has happened, or what has been happening, the scars are going to remain for years, if not for a lifetime.
Mm.
How do you tell, what do you say to a man who's lost his wife and has 4 children to bring up on his own, and then a week later he loses his father? He's like a boxer in a ring who has just been punched and is on his knees, and he wants to get up, and he's a good man and he has good family support, but this is going to be a tough journey.
Yeah.
But along with him, we are all suffering.
Yeah.
So we need, in a way, we need the relationships to go viral. We need disciples connecting to disciples all across. And, we need your intellectual capital. There are areas in which you have strengths, we have weaknesses. And hopefully, along this, as we make this journey together, there will be things that we will be able to help you with.
Yeah.
But I think if we can have those relational connects,
Yeah.
that would be a great blessing, because we need that more in terms of the emotional, physical, and other scars that we are going through right now. I think the relational connect is really important.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Ian. Just your challenge of us hitting the pause button in our life and extending that arm of fellowship, and just valuing our brothers and sisters who are, like you said, that boxing ring, and they are down. Are we going to come and show the empathy and lift them up? And thank you for providing us an avenue. We're definitely going to put your link of Hope Worldwide there, and figure out ways of how do we provide the intellectual capital that you need? How do we provide that relational connection? And, and we'll continue to just brainstorm and talk to you, and just
Yes.
really come together. Like you said, spread the good news of Jesus. So we appreciate all the work that you're doing on the ground there.
Thank you, Pam. I feel like I'm just a small piece in the jigsaw puzzle, but the government, corporate India, the average man and woman on the street, the leaders in the church, some who are nobodies, all coming together. I want you to know that even despite what you see on TV, on the ground, there's a lot of partnerships.
Yes.
People helping people all across India, and all people helping people from across the world. So please know that that's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
It's true. And I agree with you, Ian, because I have seen just the amazing measure of how brothers and sisters and leaders have come together in time like this.
Yeah.
And I've been very inspired by just your courage and the hope and just the strength that the disciples and the people in the church have shown in a time like this. And, we want to continue to learn, to give, to support, even though, yes, we are hurting in our own ways. But like you said, this is a time to come together, and we want to give off ourselves, whether it's prayer, whether it's money, whether it's our energy. As many years from now, we will look back and we'll be able to know, I made a difference during that time. And as leaders, I guess, leaders stand out in times of crises. And I want to encourage all of us, who watch the show regularly, because we want to be better leaders. We want to keep on evolving. I just want to leave us with this thought from the scripture in Isaiah 40, verse 31. It says, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. They will soar on wings like eagles." I want to send you guys appreciation, and you, especially Ian, I know you have been coordinating this hope work for a very long time. I want to thank you, and I hope that we'll continue to stay in touch. There's links below, which I will be posting, so that you can go ahead and donate if you're interested, and continue to do so. This need is not going away in the next few weeks or in the next few months. And as Ian said, this is going to be for a very long time. And I want to encourage our viewers to please come forward and support us in a time like this. And let's really show what it means to be as a family, even though we are miles apart. So just as usual, I ask you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We want to thank you for watching, and really hope to meet you again soon. So thank you, Ian. Great to have you with us.